Money. We don't like to talk about money in politics. In fact, we love to say childish things like, we need to get the money out of politics. You ever found yourself saying something like that? You ever talked to someone who did? It's a wonderful thought. It's wonderful to think that the sky might open up and rain Sour Patch Kids right now because I have a sugar craving. But let's exist here in the real world. Money matters a lot. And the truth is the commies are really, really, really good at creating organizations and dark money networks to fund their evil ways and to make sure you fund their evil ways. Joining me now, Scott Walter, author of the book, one you should really dig into if you want to know how ugly this stuff really can get and how nefarious it is behind the scenes. The book is called Arabella Scott. How ugly is it behind the scenes while normal people are going to work and dropping the kids off at school?
It is very ugly, and you saw there were multiple faces on that cover. Most people think, oh, George Soros funds everything. The answer is the left has a lot of Soroses.
Yeah, they do have a lot of Soroses. Let's begin there. Why? Why are there so many filthy rich guys on the left willing to essentially throw money away? We can make about George Soros, although, as you pointed out, it's a bunch of different guys. They don't look for return on investment all the time. Sometimes they do, but sometimes it's just, hey, here's $10 billion for you and $20 billion for you. Go pee on an art painting somewhere.
You know, I admit this is one of the most fascinating questions. And I think the short answer is they like control. They don't just like money, they like power. Of course, you can have power, the money usually comes, right? So this is why they're never supporting things like, we want smaller government so the ordinary American can have a bigger role in, defining his life. Oh, no. It's not even enough for the U.S. government to take power, right? We have to have some multinational government or multinational institutions are really important. And it's always about more power to the elite, right?
Yeah, no, it is always about, it's funny how they always end up with more money and power for themselves. In your book, you talk about the Arabella Network. What is it?
Well, it's a little complicated. I'll give you the 20-second version, right? Think of a pyramid.
No. Please, no. Explain it to us. Make us smarter.
Okay. Think of a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, the apex, you have this for-profit company, Arabella Advisors, okay? It actually makes everything else happen, but it's usually hidden. In the middle of the pyramid, you have half a dozen nonprofits, both the 501c3, that's charities, legally speaking, and C4s, that's the more political nonprofits like League of Conservation Voters, National Rifle Association, that kind of nonprofit. That's the middle of the pyramid. There are half a dozen of those. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have hundreds, over 500, in fact, little fake groups that are legally just projects of those nonprofits in the middle of the pyramid, right? But those hundreds of little groups are what you see as an American. You see, for instance, Fix the Court, which says, oh, the Supreme Court's got terrible ethics and we've got to, do all kinds of things to mess with the court so it won't be unethical. That's just some guy in a Brooklyn apartment who's gotten a, nice few fat grants from Arabella and other joints, spouting off. He's not anything like the groundswell that, a Senator White House wants you to think, or that the New York Times pretends he is when they write pompous editorials about the court.
Okay, how successful are they? Because some tubby guy in his apartment in Brooklyn putting up things on Facebook doesn't sound like it would be any kind of an effective political strategy. Is it working? Obviously, something's working. They keep doing it. They keep funding it.
Well, I'll finish up on the Fix the Court thing. He is cited repeatedly in the New York Times. Are you? He is cited and even testifies in front of Congress. Are you? So, and it doesn't cost, in his case, it's a few $100,000 a year.
God, Golly. Okay, so you've testified about this in front of Congress. They're aware of the problem. They have to be. 6 times you've testified in front of Congress. What are they doing about it? Is anyone trying to do something about this problem? Because this sounds really ugly for a country.
Well, one of the last times I testified, I was testifying before the House Ways and Means Committee, and I was explaining about foreign money in this Arabella Network, because one of their biggest donors, and another Soros, and this one you almost certainly haven't heard of, is a Swiss foreign national called Hans-Jörg Wyss. Now, he's given $250 million to Arabella. As best we can tell, he was like its original sugar daddy back in the aughts when it was first getting going. And then he continues to put tens of millions a year into the network. It is very scary that he is putting all this money indirectly into American politics. And the Ways and Means Committee was considering legislation, for instance, that would say, if you're a 501c4 political nonprofit that gets money from foreigners, you cannot turn around and hand money to super PACs. So that's one possible way to curb things.
Okay. Are there Republicans and Democrats on board with this kind of thing? Doesn't sound like the kind of thing Democrats would get on board with.
That's an excellent question. I mentioned I've talked about Arabella 6 times to 5 different committees in both houses. Now, would you care to guess how many questions from Democrats I've ever gotten at a congressional hearing?
Tell us.
0.
Yeah,
so
that's what I would have guessed.
Not real interested.
The book, go get it. Scott Walter, thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friend. Golly. All right. Speaking of blocking and tackling, it's more than just dark money networks. School board races. You talk about culture war stuff? Well, that's where it begins. Ryan Gerdusky joins us next to discuss those all-important races. Before we get to Ryan, let's get to you and your personal safety. You see, what does any of this stuff matter if an animal kills you, hurts you? And we have to acknowledge now that we have animals all around us. We do. We are creating more within our country with all the mental illness, drugs, and setting them loose from prison. We're importing more. What do you carry on you every day that will stop one of these people? When you're going to work, getting gas, out walking the dog, what do you carry on you? That's what Burna is. Burna is your ticket to get home safe that night. It's non-lethal, so even if you're not a gun person, I love guns, but even if you're not a gun person, use it. It's a pistol launcher. Shoots pepper balls or tear gas balls. It'll stop a bad man in his tracks, and you get to go home alive. I love these things. I think I own 5 of them by now. We have fun as a family just practicing with these. They have these little practice rounds in the backyard. It's right there. Go to Burna.com/Jesse. That's BYRNA. Go get one. We'll be back.